Hi, this is Dennis for MediaMaker.Tips, and today I wanted to touch on the subject of lenses for mirrorless Sony system. And many people view this as a limitation of Sony cameras, but even though it is true that there are few very good lenses available, today I wanted to look at the best of them and determine which lens will be the best for your needs and your budget. So let's go. So as I already mentioned, find a good value lens for Sony cameras is pretty hard. The things get easier if you have big budget, but even with a small budget you can find some decent lenses. And the purpose of this review is to highlight the lenses you should turn your attention to first. For the convenience, I separated them into 3 different groups. Each category has its advantages and its disadvantages. So zoom lenses offer you a great versatility, but suffer a little bit in terms of sharpness and suffer even bigger in terms of maximum aperture. Prime lenses, however, offer you almost ultimate level of sharpness and their aperture is always wide, but they are not very flexible to use. And last but not least, we have MediaFocus lenses, which offer you a great value because they're like 2 times cheaper than comparable prime autofocus lens, but they are MediaFocus, so you will need to work a lot to get your shot. So let's start with the most popular category of modern day, zoom lenses. And in Sony world, there are no cheap good zoom. You have to accept it as given. And the first lens I want to highlight here is Sony FE24 to 70mm f2.8, and just like all Grandmaster series lenses, this lens is very expensive, going for around $2,000, but it offers superb level of sharpness as well as wide aperture as for zoom lens, and due to its focal range it's incredibly versatile and you can shoot anything with it, starting from landscapes and ending with portraits. Next up, we have one of the best cinema lenses in the world, but it doesn't mean that you can't shoot photos with it. However, its features are more cinematography oriented, starting with zoom settings, and the aperture is not very bright, so you'll be better off shooting portraits with the previous lens. It's even more expensive at $2,500, so I can only recommend it if you are serious about your cinematography, and probably you should skip it altogether for portraits. Next we have another GM lens, and this is the sharpest zoom lens available for E-mount. It is a good and only choice for sports photography as well as wildlife, but as for portraits it's not very clear if it's better than the first lens we took a look at, because it will produce less bokeh even at 200mm due to its small aperture. Moving next, we have prime autofocus lenses for Sony E-mount, and I'm personally a big fan of prime lenses on Sony system. That is not only because they are optically uncompromised, thus offering the best sharpness and very wide apertures, but also because they are priced for mid-range, and many of them are on sale today. So you can check those deals by following the links below this video. And the first lens is the lens you probably will love, same as me, mainly because it's the best value of all lenses there are for Sony. Costing only about $400, it offers great optical performance both in sharpness and in wide transmittance due to its wide f2.0 aperture. Also, it's a very versatile lens as far as prime lenses go, because due to its 28mm focal length, it's great for all kinds of situations except for portraits. But for street photography, for landscape, for astrophotography, it's great. I often find myself just leaving this lens on the camera, so this is definitely the first lens you should invest in. Next we have budget-friendly portrait lens, and the main advantage of it is that it's affordable. It sells for around $250, and even though 50mm is not the best focal length for portraits, f1.8 aperture still manages to produce enough bokeh to make pleasant-looking portraits. This lens, Zeiss 55mm f1.8, is similar to the previous one but offers much better optical quality and focus capabilities, but costs twice as much, so it's up to your budget which one to pick. Sony FE90mm f2.8 is probably my second favorite lens because it's the sharpest lens available for Sony E-mount, and due to its 90mm focal length and quite wide aperture, it makes a perfect lens for portrait as well as macrophotography, and optical stabilization also helps with it. Also, this lens would be a perfect choice for studio setup for product photography, so for $1,000 it's probably still a very good value. Next we have best prime manual lenses, and as I already mentioned, those lenses offer very good optical quality in comparison to zoom lenses, but also very good price in comparison to autofocus lenses, because these lenses are usually produced by third parties which price them aggressively to compete. And Samyang or Rokinon is the king here because they offer very good optical quality for very low price. And the first lens I would notice is their 14mm f2.8 model, because it will work very well for landscape shots due to its extreme wide angle, as well as astrophotography due to its pretty bright aperture. But if landscape is not your thing, Samyang still has you covered because they offer superb 85mm f1.8 lens for portrait needs, and it's one of the best lenses for portraits for any system, so you should definitely check it out if you're into this kind of shootings, because it also offers a great price of around $300. Okay, so I hope this video was useful for you and helped you choose your next lens for your Sony camera. And if you're interested in more detailed review of these lenses and some others that didn't make it to the video, you should check out our page at MediaMaker.Tips, where you will find even more information about all these lenses. And on these notes, I wish you great shots and see you next time. Goodbye.